In this video, I'm going to be extending the use of Countif to show how we can use that with numerical data. And I'm going to be using it to show in this example how we can count the number of countries with below average carbon dioxide emissions and the number of countries with above average carbon dioxide emissions. So I'm going to be returning back to column F here, which has all of the individual carbon dioxide emissions per 1,000 population. I've also calculated here the overall carbon dioxide per 1,000 population for across all 15 countries. And that is simply, as you can see here, cell C18 divided by E18 multiplied by 1,000. So across all 15 countries, the carbon dioxide emissions per 1,000 population is 3.01. And you can see that there's a considerable amount of variation, ranging from 0.34 in Kenya up to 17.07 in Saudi Arabia. So I want to know the number of countries which have below average and the number of countries that have above average. Do appreciate, because this is a relatively small number of countries and I've ordered it by carbon dioxide emissions, I could simply count this manually, but I want to show you a little bit more about how you can use Excel in situations where it would be more problematic and more cumbersome to do things manually. So we're going to be using Countif to do this calculation. So I'm just going to start off by typing in what I'm actually calculating to remind myself the number of countries with below average, whatever if I could spell, average carbon, let's just write CO2 emissions, and then number, I'll just copy that, I think, easier, and then with above average. There we are. Right, so I've got my two, written down what it is that I'm going to be calculating. So I'm going to be using Countif. So start with my equals, Countif again, and open my parentheses, start off by defining the range, which is going to be F2 to F60. And then I need to define what the criteria is. We have to use parentheses, so we have to use speech marks again. So I'm going to open my speech marks. And here I'm counting the countries that have less than average. So I need to use the arithmetic formula for less than, and I'm going to use less than or equals to. So I'm going to type in the arithmetic formula there. And then I need to tell Excel to see whether that number is less than 3.01. I've got two options here. I can either type in 3.01 or I could actually specify the lookup cell. So I'm going to show you the slightly more complicated way just to extend your analysis, sorry, your understanding of Excel. So I'm going to tell Excel to see whether the values in F2, F16 are less than the value that's returned in cell F18. So I put F18 there, I close my parentheses and I hit return. And it hasn't liked it. And I was expecting it not to like it because that does not work for Excel. The problem is that it sees F18 there not as the actual cell, but as F18. I need to be telling Excel that it needs to be looking at the value in the cell F18, not the words and numbers F18. So here I have to introduce you to another key bit of Excel notation, which is the ampersand. If I put an ampersand in front of that, I have now told Excel that it should be looking across all of those values there about whether they're less than or equal to the value that's in cell F18, not the text F18. That's what the ampersand does there. So now when I hit on return, rather than getting an error message, I get the number. So there are 5 countries with less than carbon emissions. And simply to calculate to repeat that, all I need to do is just change the less than to greater than. Quite as simple though. I just want to demonstrate what happens if I just copy and paste that formula. It doesn't quite work because this is where Excel is automatically going to update. Because I've moved down a row, it's changed my my range from F2 to F3. So I just need to unfortunately go back, change that. That I need to make greater than. It doesn't need to be equals, because if I did have, it would mean, if I had that as equals, it could mean that if I did have a country with exactly 3.01, I'd be counting it twice, and we also have to change that to F18. So it doesn't quite work, the cutting and paste here, and as you can see, there are 10 countries, which again, of course, should have been able to work out by a very simple bit of arithmetic, that if there were 5 countries with below average, then there would of course be 10 countries above average. Appreciate that this could be calculated maybe a little bit quicker than using the formula, but my point here is for you to understand how these formula work and how you can use Countif for arithmetic calculations, and also how you can signify that Excel should be looking up the value in a cell using the ampersand symbol.